Hi, it's Hazel. Welcome to my channel. We are in the midst of another 100-day project day. I think this might be day 11, but I'm not entirely sure, so it's always best just to check the video name and number. Now, depending on scheduling and how many of my videos you've watched or not, you may have seen this cute little dress in a recent thrifting haul video. So I don't have anybody to put this dress onto. Only have grandsons, and they're far too big for something like this. A grown daughter. So my whole purpose in buying it was to take it apart for junk journals. And when I've all the fabrics that I showed the other day, I have laundered, with the exception of one that smelt fresh as a daisy and is a dry clean only. This, when I had a closer look at this dress, it is homemade, which is, fine. That's no biggie. It's nice when people have that talent. So basically what I'm hoping to do with this video is give you a couple of ideas or examples of how I would harvest pieces from it for use in a junk journal or other crafting type projects. So what I'm doing here is using a seam ripper. I have, and I also cleaned my mat off. I hope you can, so standing ovations are welcome. Appreciate that, after a while, it just, it gets beyond. I can see why people replace them. They do get stained, excuse me, to the point of just being too grody to use. So basically what I'm trying to do here is get a little handle on ripping the seam out. Now, depending on what the project is, sometimes it's just simpler to, cut it off. Like take your scissor and cut it right off there. You lose that inch or so of fabric or whatever. You lose the seam allowance, but our time has to be worth something as well. So you've seen, in case you don't have a seam ripper, stitch ripper, this is what it looks like. Typically it has a cover that usually cracks or gets lost over time. I don't know if these things ever need replacing because they're too dull, but excuse me, if so, you see these often in thrift stores or in little grab bags of sewing notions. This is like, if I had sewn this seam, it would not look like this at the back. So that's some sort of a stitch that I'm not familiar with or don't know the name of. But and I'm going to get to some commercially made items as well. Excuse me. Sometimes, if you get the thread just right, you can pull and remove a foot at a time, which of course speeds things along. So let me just finish this little bit here. And it's a case of, doing what you need to do. Sometimes you work from the back. Sometimes you work like this. Sometimes you work from the front. And most of the time it's a combination of all of those techniques. Okay, so I freed that up. Now the rest of this, surprisingly enough... Okay, there's a dart there and a dart there, but the material hasn't been pieced, so that's great. So what I'm going to do, rather than remove this whole gathering stitch here, I'm just going to take these scissors and Okay, I don't have to worry about cutting the seam because it's lying upwards. So I'm just going to cut along here. Again, it doesn't matter. You know, it doesn't have to be particularly straight. I'm going to cut along this whole, you know, the seam that separates the yoke from the skirt. And that, of course, is going to totally free up that whole big chunk of fabric. I didn't bother. I do have a pile of ironing that resulted from the thrifted clothing that I bought the other day and washed. This wasn't one of them because I knew I would be cutting into it immediately. And what is the point of ironing something when, you know, when I've done this and now there's a certain amount of creasing that's going on, although not bad, I must say. Now, this person must have known something about sewing because there's some overcasting done here. So I'll try to quickly, and trust me, I'm not going to go into this much detail or take this much time because, oh, see, I thought that was the thread. You know, it's like if you've ever bought a stitched bag of, a giant-sized bag of dog food, or you've probably never bought a 100-pound bag of flour, but that's how flour bags used to be sewn shut. Likewise, a bag of, say, canola seed. So like I said, if you pick the right thread and you're going in the right direction and you're wearing your lucky green socks and you're holding your tongue just right, sometimes you can find the thread. Clearly I'm not having that luck today. That will just, oh, I thought I had it. That will let you just go like that. Nope, still not. And remove a whole bunch of it all in one slick move. And I've never bothered Googling or studying too hard. I usually go trial and error. Do it the hard way, scrunch it up, get frustrated. I just wanted to get that dart up. Oh. Why is there a slit there? Huh. Anyway, well, let me leave that alone. I didn't need a hole in there. I thought I was opening up a little bit more of the fabric. Now, I'm not going to cut these 4 rows of lace off because clearly any of us can picture how that would be done. And because I don't know what I'm going to do with this. I thought this was a cute little dress because of the polka dot fabric, the fact that it's sort of aqua or minty green or turquoise, depending, I guess, on how we all see color, which is a popular color. So I don't know what's going to happen with this. However, I'm going to leave it there, knowing that depending on a project, you know, it's not a video unless I measure something. So let's just measure this. 8.5. So this could theoretically be a journal cover. Well, I mean, it could, because journal covers come in all sizes. If a person added lace at this other end, it could be a frilly, dilly, you know, lacy top and bottom on a cover. So let's just pretend that this was, well, we're faking it here. Let's just fold this back. Pretend there isn't a dart there. That could be like a journal cover with a frilly bottom. And you probably would want to balance out some of the frill with an addition of something at the top. But enough about that. The top part of this, of course, is the tiny little yoke, tiny little gathered sleeves, again with some lace. So let's just, I'm going to cut along the seam here. I'm going to cut the sleeve off. And every little bit of this, and of course this is a teeny tiny little garment. Now, until that elastic is removed, that's going to stay gathered. If I remove that thread, I'll end up with a kind of a funny little shaped piece of fabric. But, you know, it'll be more useful than something like this. I could also ignore that, cut alongside the elastic, and end up with, well, let's just do it. Or maybe I should try to cut down the stitching, and I'll kill two birds with one stone. So by cutting, easier said than done. By cutting down this stitching line, I'm freeing up that elastic, and I'm also giving myself a little tiny something, a little bit of fabric with a little bit of lace that could be attached to the top of a journaling card or side of a page or whatever. Okay, it's going to take a second. Might as well carry on. The elastic is still there. Simpler and quicker just to cut along there. And you can see that now I've got this tiny little thing with a bit of fabric and the lace that I said could be, you know, attached to a page or something. Now again, because I'm trying to be a little quick here for the video, for the sake of the video, not doing a particularly great job of cutting. If you weren't watching, I'd probably be removing the thread, to be honest, doing it the slow way. So other than this gouge that I did here, it's not too bad. So this could easily be, you know, straightened out and added to the side of a page or, you know, the top of a pocket or wherever a person chooses. So, and now I have this little sleeve. Well, let's see what we really have here. Cut off that seam allowance. I sometimes, well, let's try. Oh, that worked okay. Sometimes it's risky to try to tear something because if it was cut on the bias or something, you could end up ending up with something that maybe you hadn't planned on. That's cute. Now, the other thing I would do is cut these two collar pieces off. I mean, I don't know just off the top of my head if, well, I will use it, but who knows when or how exactly. But, I mean, it's doubled up. It's got lace. It's got that tiny little rose applique thing there. So again, does it become a pocket or what exactly? How come this has a tag? Maybe it wasn't Provo, Utah. Maybe somebody there was hand making clothes and just attaching a label. because people who do that professionally can have their own labels made. 2 of those. Cute, cute. I'll put this aside. We don't need to talk about this anymore. Oh, and I will salvage those 2 buttons. But how? Let's maybe cut this off. And let's cut this apart. Let's cut the tag off. And a person might choose to save these tags and reuse them as little embellishments. Neaten that up. Should be using my tinier scissors for some of this delicate stuff. That'll take a little bit of thinking because it's kind of an oddball shape. The buttons could, that button could also be moved. But you can see that there will be virtually no waste from this whatsoever. Okay, let's move this out of the way and I'll show you a couple of other items. Also part of that haul video was this little, and again, sorry if the terminology is not right, this little ethnic, again I did it, sorry. Trying to unfold this so you can see something. Okay, if you didn't see that video, this part of this garment was sewn together. So these little teeth on this braid interlocked, and it was sewn to here. So all the way up to there. So I took that apart by removing the stitches, and then I ended up with these 2 halves. I did not remove this lining, although this is pretty nice in itself, just with the purple netting that's there and the gold embroidery that's on top of it. But again, I don't want to make some of those decisions in haste if I don't know what my ultimate plan is. So again, a little bit of a bodice here. So for now, I'm leaving these pieces intact. Just fold that up. Now the back, if you saw the video, you will recall that I guess the reason it got donated is someone melted it. And so, but anyway, I kept the whole back because it's got that nice trim around, or at least from this slit on down. So here, a mitered corner, what a person could do is cut it off right there. I don't know, can you see? Right there where the fabric changes, there will be a finished edge all the way around and a nice purple and gold trim. There's also this lining, which is pretty nice. It's not like it's like cotton, more so than just, those satiny type linings that are so slippery and whatever. So there's possibilities there as well. I took each of the sleeves off. Managed, oh, there it is. And the sleeve is, again, netting. and lining. And each sleeve had a cuff. So I just very roughly cut it open at the seam, and then you'd think I chewed that instead of cutting it, cut away the cuff. So that too could be, you know, the side of a page, or maybe these two could be pieced together and become, you know, something longer. Maybe it could form the basis of a snippet roll. I mean, the possibilities are there. Again, I'm not going to do anything more with it just now until I know what my ultimate plan is. I think, and maybe this is just a trick that I need to do a trick I need to play on myself, but I think that getting something thrifted or picking something out of your closet that you no longer care about and are ready to sacrifice, laundering it, maybe ironing it at that point if you feel like you want to, and then quickly cutting into it is like, you know, the first cut is the hardest. And once you've done that, the creative juices sort of start flowing and you think, okay, well, let's do this in a logical way. Let's maximize the pieces, the usable pieces that we can harvest out of it. And it's certain this, even in this format, in this large format, is certainly much more usable to me and much more likely to be used than if it were this little garment, you know, hanging in a closet somewhere. So again, maybe I'm the only one that needs that kind of incentive. Another one of the I need to keep track of the time. Sorry, I'll just 22 minutes. Okay, I'll talk faster, or I'll show you less. This was one of those tops, you know, kind of a knit thing with the fake, well, I guess it's not fake, but the front, the fancy front, and the, you know, what do they say? Party in front and work in the back, or whatever. But the reason I liked it is because it's got this very wide, hot pink, lacy overlay, or whatever the terminology is. So these things could easily be cut around. You know, kind of can almost pick the size. So there are those 4 leaves. There is a tiny little 4-petal flower, an even smaller one. This bigger design here, you know, do those 2 leaves get attached? Do they get taken off? A smaller version, like, so the possibilities are endless. Then the rest of this is just this very regular grid type design with these other little circles. So they could become, you know, okay, so how wide do you want your page edge to be? Do you want it 3 rows wide or a single row? Do you want a single row on the top of a pocket or the side of a tag? Or do you want it, you know, 6 or 7 rows deep and you know, form the basis of a pocket? Let's just see here. If this was a pocket, something could go into it very easily and it wouldn't get hung up because the design is fairly close. I'm not going to do anything more with this because there are 2 more things I want to show you, and I want to let you go quicker today than I did in the last video. I also showed this in that little haul. Oh my goodness, this is so cute. It's the size is 12 months, so you can picture how tiny it is. It's a styling kind of thing. It's double-breasted. It's got, you know, this fancy little collar and, you know, that waistline that style that they tend to make for babies. And of course, all these lovely flowers. And I think, if I remember correctly, this was almost, yeah, it's 100% cotton. So it's going to, and these are wooden buttons, it's going to take a tea or coffee dye or whatever kind of dye well, because it is cotton. So here again, I would approach it the same way I did that dress. I would cut along where the top and the bottom are joined. I guess I'd have to cut at these side seams. I would leave, for now, I would leave this stitching intact because, let's face it, a finished edge is a bonus. It's an edge we don't have to sew. So straighten this out, and you've got a pocket, or you've got a side tuck. You've got a side tuck. Sleeves, I would cut off and open up. And of course, because it's so tiny, there isn't going to be a great deal of fabric there. However, enough to do something with. The collar, what would I do with the collar? I mean, collars are a little different because they're, they've got that shape to them. It could be another side tuck. Cut it in half. Glue it down that way. I mean, this would be the finished edge of the tuck. The glue would be on this side. And cute, cute, cute. Now, if we had this thing buttoned up with all 4 buttons, this is almost like playing with dolls for me. Maybe it would just be really cute to create, if it was cut off there, that could be maybe a little horizontal belly band on a relatively small journal page. So 5 inches, so picture that. Picture that as a horizontal belly band. Now, mind you, no, that's not a very good idea. I'd think that through a little more because nobody wants that much bulk. But, okay, let's get this top layer off. Can certainly do what I've just said using just this one thickness, which is fairly thick anyway, considering that it's cotton. And it's like almost like a fleecy type thing. So cute. Okay, enough of that. I can smell the gears in your head turning all the way over here. Okay, this was another thing that I thought was really cool. Let me put it back together. I almost cut into this last night just because I wanted to get a jump start on it. This is a top, long sleeve top. Wonder whose gray hair this could possibly be. a him. No, not gray, platinum. Keep forgetting it's platinum. Okay, it's got this flouncy thing here that is a different, this is kind of like t-shirt material. This is kind of sheer, as you can see. So I would cut this off there. Then front and back is this lacy overlay. In the front, there's also this fancier part, with this sort of embroidery. Excuse me. So there's a seam there. So that could be easily taken apart either by pulling threads or by just cutting. And every so often, I don't know if the camera's picking it up, but there are little sequins sewn, very tiny little sequins. I didn't know sequins came that small, to be honest. What is that, 1/8 of an inch? Like, that's crazy. Little sequin that just picks up the light. So, excuse me, a person could use this lining material and the overlay for a pocket, and then you don't have to worry about the corner of your cards getting stuck in this meshy part. This could be, again, part of a fabric flip, or, edging the side of a page, or, I mean, you name it. The possibilities are truly endless. The bigger, and it feels good too. Like this heavier design here is that chenille type stuff. So we know how soft that is. And it doesn't hurt that it's various shades of blue. And that, there's a button bonus. And I was saying, and it's almost, you could almost call it an ombre type coloration here, where there are, variations in the tone. So I am going to stop there. I have more stuff to cut up, obviously, and I hope that you look in, like when thrifting, most of the time I make a beeline to the office stuff, to the books, then textiles. I almost never look at clothing, but I would like you now to be aware that there are probably possibilities in your very own closet, and if not, they're in thrift stores. And sometimes, I guess, if you catch the right sale, you can get some clothing for next to nothing. So happy thrifting, happy crafting, happy 100-day project, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.